sports and politics. It's a mixture like Diet Coke and Mentos. We enjoy them individually, but combine them and... I'm more of a Coke Zero guy myself. Helps me maintain the illusion of masculinity. But the truth is, we all commonly hold a double standard on this mixture. If we agree with the politics, the athlete is courageous. And if we disagree, the athlete needs to shut up and stick to his or her role as an entertainer. And really no side has a monopoly on it either. From the left, you'll remember cases like the St. Louis Rams coming out with hands up to pay factually loose homage to Michael Brown. Or maybe they just wanted to do the touchdown gesture since they don't get to see that very often. And from the right, you'll remember cases like Curt Schilling's meme sharing streak comparing Islamic extremists to Nazis, questioning Democratic Party intent with immigration reform, and an exaggerated image of a woman who would like to use the restroom with your daughter. But it's not all factually challenged gestures and provocative memes. Sports and politics aren't always a bullshit cocktail. Let's not forget it was Jackie Robinson who broke baseball's color barrier, leading the nation to question the doctrine of separate but equal, a question that led us to the Civil Rights Act and the removal of color barriers everywhere. But that was then and this is now. These days, we don't create masterful original works. We only create terrible, unnecessary bastardizations of past accomplishments. And Leslie Jones is to Ghostbusters what Colin Kaepernick is to civil rights. Let's set the stage. On Friday night, the San Francisco 49ers hosted the Green Bay Packers in Week 3 of the NFL preseason. And like most sporting events, the national anthem precedes the game, and all rise and remove their caps and place their hands over their hearts for a moment of solemn respect. Or almost all, but not 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick, who chose to remain in a familiar, comfortable place, sitting on the bench. Asked by reporters why he didn't stand to pay respects, it turns out Kaepernick's reason wasn't comfort at all. I am not going to stand up and show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color. To me, this is bigger than football, and it would be selfish on my part to look the other way. There are bodies in the street and people getting paid leave and getting away with murder. Kaepernick also offered the following to an NFL.com reporter.
He said that he's been thinking about trying to do something for a while now. Over the past few months, his thinking towards the Black Lives Matter movement and to civil rights has kind of taken a more, according to him, pro-black approach.
So Colin looked at the black idea and the non-black idea and decided to be pro-black. Who's racist again? And what about the rest of these black guys standing up? Are they not pro-black? Are they anti-black? Asked if this was a one-time stunt, Kaepernick responded,
I'll continue to sit. I'm going to continue to stand with the people that are being oppressed.
Kaepernick's stance, or sit, has bothered many. Several people are posting videos online of Kaepernick jersey burning ceremonies. Look, I understand the rage, but if you're only just now burning your Kaepernick jersey, you haven't been watching the 49ers. And the debate developing online I find frustrating because much of it ignores the actual issues. Opponents of Kaepernick tell him to leave the country.
You don't love our country? Get the out of it.
And attack the idea that he's oppressed, but Kaepernick was explicit that this stance isn't for him.
This stand wasn't for me. This is because I'm seeing things happen to people that don't have a voice.
Defenders of Kaepernick are often saying, yeah, well, that's his right to free speech, like it or not. Yeah, but that defense doesn't address the faults in his claims or his reasoning. Like the idea that the Alton Sterling incident was a, quote, modern-day lynching, coming to a conclusion that Sterling was targeted on the basis of his race before any investigation is complete, willfully ignoring Mr. Sterling's criminal record, the illegal firearm on his person at the time, the claim that he reached for the officer's firearm. Again, all matters of investigation. I'm just saying, let's wait for findings before concluding lynching. Like the idea that people are getting paid leave to get away with murder, by which you mean paid leave to undergo investigation by the Justice Department, the same Justice Department under nationally elected black leadership. Like the idea that our country oppresses people of color. It's strange to take that stance in the company of a couple hundred fellow black multi-millionaires, all of whom rose to their wealth not on the basis of the color of their skin, but on the merit of their elite athletic talent. If the system oppresses black people, the system needs a tune-up, because I see a lot of flaws out on the field. So you can gather where I stand on the issue. I think Kaepernick is plainly wrong from a philosophical, moral perspective, but also on the issues of fact. Let's try to give him the benefit of the doubt, though. Let's give him a fair defense. I've read through a few pieces defending Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick is Whiter Than You Know. The national anthem is a celebration of slavery by John Schwartz at The Intercept. More power to 49ers Colin Kaepernick for taking a stance against social injustice by Jarrett Bell of USA Today. And why Colin Kaepernick was right not to stand for the national anthem by Sean King of the New York Daily News. Let's see what this dream team has to offer. Writes Schwartz, almost no one seems to be aware that even if the US were a perfect country today, it would be bizarre to expect African American players to stand for the Star-Spangled Banner. Why? Because it literally celebrates the murder of African Americans. Few people know this because we only ever sing the first verse, but read the end of the third verse and you'll see why the Star-Spangled Banner is not just a musical atrocity, it is an intellectual and moral one too. No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave, and the Star-Spangled Banner in triumph doth wave, or the land of the free and the home of the brave. You can decide for yourself whether there's some connection between what happened 200 years ago and what Colin Kaepernick is angry about today. Maybe it's all ancient, meaningless history, or maybe it's not, and Kaepernick is right, and we really need a new national anthem. Well, thanks for letting me decide if there's some connection, because I decided. There isn't. All of the injustices of the slavery era have been legally settled, and nobody of consequence celebrates slavery anymore. Regardless, Kaepernick's not protesting the anthem. He never said he wants a new anthem. He said very clearly, I am not going to show pride in that flag, because of what that flag represents. He doesn't care what song is sung. I would bet my life savings he does not know the third verse of the Star-Spangled Banner. It was not a factor in his decision to sit. This argument is a straw grasped for convenience, not one of substance consistent with Kaepernick's reasoning. Let's try Mr. Bell. Agree with his methods or not, Kaepernick is a fresh example showing that the Constitution applies to all Americans, including those in football uniforms. The way I see it, Kaepernick just earned a lot of street cred for at least standing up for something that he's obviously passionate about, knowing full well there could be a political price to pay. There are many societal issues and causes that any of us can choose to protest, yet Kaepernick has chosen to focus on police brutality. This is consistent with disgust he expressed in early July when police in Baton Rouge shot Alton Sterling to death after he was thrown to the ground by two officers. On social media, Kaepernick wrote, "This is what lynchings look like in 2016. The people so willing to dump on Kaepernick for making his expression public are conveniently denying him the respect he deserves to do just that. America isn't perfect, and many have made the ultimate sacrifice to preserve the country's ideals. American values, like equality, like the right to call ourselves out. Kaepernick has reminded us of that." Again, nobody says Kaepernick has no right to do what he's doing. Smart minds are critiquing the content of his protest. I can't believe I'm doing this, but let's see if Sean King has a rational point. Colin Kaepernick, like millions of people all over this country, has had enough. I've had enough. Everybody I know and love has had enough. If you don't know what we've had enough of, you are probably white and probably live in a bubble that has protected you not only from the injustice, but from the news of its harsh reality. Sean King just called me probably white. Well, I'm actually white. And Sean, you, sir, you are probably white. I haven't cared to sing the anthem for a good 15 years. Does that mean that we hate America? Does that mean that we hate soldiers? Does that mean that we are spitting in the face of people that have sacrificed their lives? It means that right now we don't feel like singing a love song to a country that seems to love black culture but not black people. It means that we don't believe many words in this song or in the Pledge of Allegiance. And here's the thing, if you are angrier today with what Colin did than you have ever been about police brutality and the painful denials of justice that inevitably follow, then you, not Colin, are the real problem. You don't get everyone's love, Mr. King. You get equal protection of the law. You don't get equality of everyone's opinion of you. Show me any recent high-profile case that you consider to be racially motivated police brutality, and I will show you a case with complicated facts and key details independent of race, investigated by law enforcement officials of color, adjudicated by jurors of color, none of which have a finding as simple as white people hate black people. But even if I grant that premise, that there is an oppressive system in place that legally uplifts white people and legally harms people of color, the system is structured to correct that problem. So you can be mad that we have a history of slavery and segregation, or you can be damn proud we have a system structured to overcome injustice, as it has time and time again. I choose pride. And the flag Kaepernick protests represents that system. The flag doesn't represent a person you dislike. The flag doesn't represent a policy you oppose. The flag represents a system crafted according to the values tested and objectively demonstrated to produce justice for all to the full extent humanly possible. And the men and women who died for it, and the ones who will die for it. The flag represents a system where a biracial boy born to poverty and an absent father can be adopted and rise to wealth beyond his dreams because he had the talent and the will to compete. The flag represents a system where pretending to be white or black is irrelevant, and we read articles based on merit or laugh at them for their unintentional comedy. The flag represents a system where we are all free to take public stances, absurd or well-reasoned alike. The very system that defeated every injustice that ironically motivates you to protest the system itself. So is the system the flag symbolizes the problem? Or is it the solution? Perhaps it produces results at a slower pace than you'd like, but its track record in pursuit of justice is inarguably the strongest in the world. It's not the flag's job to work for you. It's the flag's job to protect your right to convince. So if you don't like your results, convince better. Don't cast blame. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below and especially over on Twitter. That is @skag_3. You're always welcome to come hang out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it. Okay, bye.